What does it mean for you to live a creative life? Like, what was the difference between life before, and life now?
It's a really beautiful question. My first instinct is to respond with, I'm allowed to follow my curiosity now. And I think
Yeah, I
curiosity was
love
something I
that.
was taught to suppress. And I was told that my attention needed to be on certain things. So, certain responsible things, and, adult things. And if I didn't care about those things, then I wasn't being a good human being. But now I follow my curiosity. And if something intrigues me, I'm allowed to chase that down. And if I want to pursue something, like, I allow it. Much like a child, I feel like my life is, I thought this would be the most embarrassing and shameful thing ever to admit, but my life is much more childlike now. And just as you would encourage someone young to, they're interested in like digging up that pot plant, and you'd be like, no, don't do that. Like, just, if you're interested, go have a play. We can repot the pot plant any other time, like letting myself
Hmm.
have that instinctual curiosity about my life. And so every day,
Wow.
I kind of sit down with myself and I go, hey, like, what are you interested in today? Like, what do you want to write about today? Like, how can I allow that for you? And how can I let you play? And I think it's play. Play is really centered in my life. And that means I create a lot of art.
That's so beautiful because I think this is something that we lose as we get older, this sense of play. It's so important to our mental health. When I think of creativity, I know you speak to artists, but I don't think it's just for artists. I think it's for all human people.
Do you consider yourself an artist, Eileen?
I do.
Yeah,
I do.
beautiful. When someone says I'm not an artist, I'll sit them down and be like, okay, well, I've got a huge problem with that. Like, we are all creatives.
For the listeners who are saying, I'm not creative, I'm not an artist, what do you say to them?
I say, I'm so sorry that you've been told that narrative and that you have internalized it. You are innately creative. It is absolutely the most instinctual thing about being a human being. We all look creative in very, very different ways. And I think we've been told that the artist, quite simply must be painting. We've got a really specific idea of what the artist looks like. And so if you can't draw, you're like, well, I don't have a creative bone in my body. But creativity is expressed in so many different ways. And I know that any of you who is doubting the idea that you are a creative or you are an artist, I know that you have something in you that wants to create, that wants to make, that wants to connect with those creations. And to me, that qualifies you. You are being called to make art. And I really don't like the pedestaling of the word art. For me, art is anything that is made with the intention to connect. Anything that is made with the intention to connect. So, we can get that's not real art. But, if you bake a cake and you want it to delight the people in your lives, like, that's a form of art to me. You used a huge amount of creativity to connect with other people. I don't see how that doesn't qualify as art. And that gets me in lots of hot water, but I'm just not about qualifying and gatekeeping who is and isn't a creative in this world. I think it's a culture of gatekeeping is there for a reason, because artists are dangerous. We question ideas and we rebel against norms. And so I think this idea of allowing some people to be artists and some people to not be artists is a intentional cultural story to keep people in line and obedient.
Yes, because like you mentioned in your life before, being an artist is like you had all these shoulds, right? I should be practical. I should do this. I shouldn't do this. And as an artist, it's more you give yourself the permission to explore.
It
And
is.
that could lead you down any road. And that's so interesting,
I
though.
love it. Yeah. I think it comes back again to what you say about play. And we think play is something you grow out of. And like, that's like a normal thing to grow out of
Right.
play, on the interest of play. And that's what happens like when you get older. But I don't think it's a natural thing that happens. I think it is a cultural thing that happens. We are told to stop playing. And I think play is one of the most crucial missing elements of our life right now. And play is about what, like, when we look at, I'm not feeling good, like maybe I need to meditate more, or maybe I need to, go for a run. And these are all beautiful modalities for healing. But no one's saying, well, maybe I should just play. Maybe I should
I
create,
know.
make
You're
mess.
so right.
It's a huge portal for healing, but it's just not trendy right now.
But I think it will have its time.
Yeah. And I think I can feel it.
For people out there who are like, what do you mean play? What does that even look like? So can you give examples of when you decide to be playful and explore something? What does that look like in your life?
So it's going to be different for everyone. Just like when you look at different kids playing in different ways, like some kids love to play, like they love to run around, or some kids love imaginative play. Some kids like to build things, and it's going to be really specific to you. And we've all been disconnected from how we want to play. So it's okay that we don't know how to play because we haven't played in a very long time. For me, playing is always going to be creating. So paints, and I'm not a drawer. I don't have any specific talent there, but I love to experiment and play with colors on, pieces of paper. I'll draw on my iPad. I love to sing, and I love to sing quite badly. Play is almost like the creative act, but with absolutely no requirement for it to be good. With no
Right.
requirement
I
even
love
for it
that.
to be shared. It is an act that is completed in doing the act. All you need to do is do it and you're done. You know, it doesn't need to be perfected. It doesn't need to be shown. It can be if you want to, but play is that like very, very free action of just like following curiosity and making a mess and playing around. And so again, that can look really different for so many people. But for me, it often involves making a mess and doing something that's kind of a bit shit that nobody should ever really see.
I love that it's not about the end result at all. It's play is just the exploration, the experience of just doing something, because we
Yeah.
just need to explore and express ourselves.
By doing it, you have completed it. And like by
Yes.
experiencing it, you're done.
That's really nice to hear for people
Yeah.
who are like about the goal setting and the crossing things off.
I'm extremely ambitious and I can be very tempted to, oh, maybe I should monetize my playtime, or like, there's always going to be this almost like capitalist productivity narrative that comes into your playtime because we're told that that will qualify it as a responsible adult like condition.
Yeah.
But I want you to fight those narratives. I want you to really find something that just makes you joyful in the moment. And then when you're done, you're done. And it could be really bad and you might be really bad at it. And that is absolutely wonderful. And like, that's almost part of it.
Yeah. I love that. Well, as a creative person, how do you distinguish between this is art that's going to be for business or for other people, or this is just for myself?
Yeah, I think this is really important for people who take their creativity very seriously, especially for professional creatives, to make sure that we still have room for play, because I think
Yep.
it's so easy to think all of our art needs to be shared and all of our art needs to be a certain standard. And it can rob us of that curiosity and that playtime, which often leads to incredible work that we do eventually share. But we need to protect a sacred space of just like fucking around and finding out. So for me, I'm a writer. And so a lot of the times my writing is where I do more of my professional work and I allow myself to play with more of a visual format. But then again, like I write every day in my journal and my journal is never to be shared. And so there's an element of play there as well, or at least an element of like, I can do anything I want in this journal and it literally doesn't matter. And it's not going to be shown to anyone. And again, when I finish my journaling practice, done. It doesn't need any editing. It doesn't need to be shown. Like the experience is what it is. So I think, it's almost more important for artists who are going pro to make sure that you still have a huge amount of play and curiosity that doesn't demand a certain standard and doesn't demand to be shown.
Yeah, because once you have that pressure of this is going to be shown, people are going to judge it, then that just makes it not fun as an
I think for a
artist.
lot of people, you're right.
I don't know. What do you think? How do you deal with that?
I love it. And I often say for people who are concerned about, this is a really nuanced story. Like we should not be monetizing, we should not be professionalizing every creation. We just don't need to.
Yeah.
And some people don't need to in any way at all. On the other side of things, a lot of people get very protective, overly protective of their art and think that if there's any external expectation on it, that you will break it. So, I really want to share my paintings, but I'm really worried that if I start selling them, it's going to ruin my craft. And we do need to be careful about translating a playtime into something professional. We need to be careful with the transition. But I do feel that we almost mollycoddle our art sometimes and that it's more resilient than we think. And for me, monetizing my writing has been one of the most creatively rewarding experiences of my life. And the connection with audience heightens how much I love it and enjoy it, and also heightens it as a writer. Like I become a better writer. So really complex. Like we do not need to be monetizing everything, but if we want to,
it can be very amazing.
We just need to be careful about how much we end up creating for someone else rather than creating because we love it and because we want to explore something. And the motivation there, we just need to be careful about whether we're doing it through the eyes of only through the eyes of the consumer and the reader or the watcher, or whether we're still doing it because we love to do it and we're interested in where this could go.
Yeah, it's really interesting because it is not black and white. There's this balance that needs to be had because there's so much beauty that comes with sharing and having someone see what you created and validate it in some way.
It is.
Something else I want to ask you about is let's talk about all the blocks that artists deal with and how do you recommend we release these blocks, whether it's fear, self-doubt, imposter syndrome, perfectionism.
Let's start with perfectionism because I think we're already in that space right now when we talk about play.
Yes.
This is the block I see the most in artists and creatives is this, because the creative process is so vulnerable. It is so exposing. It is like making a piece of you in external form. You know, when I write a novel, a story, that is so vulnerable to me. I'm giving you a part of my heart. And because of that vulnerability, we want to defend ourselves and protect ourselves by making it the most perfect book you could ever write so that no one could possibly ever criticize you. And this instinct is really natural, I think. And that's why we see perfectionism in so many people. But perfectionism robs us of so much. Like, I grieve the art that we do not see, that is never finished because of perfectionism. Like, we have lost so much art because people thought it wasn't perfect enough to share. And we have a huge amount of artists in acute distress because they are never meeting their expectations. And I think we've been sold the story that, perfectionism is kind of a good thing to have, that if I'm a perfectionist about work, it means I'm ambitious and that means I'm going to achieve. But my true belief, and I've seen it and I know it, is that perfectionism will ruin your creative life and it will cock block you from any success and joy and delight that you want. And so my antidote to perfectionism is to make shitty art and to do it every day. Like, make bad stuff and let your body and your central nervous system know you are not going to get in trouble if you make something that is not to your standards. Nothing is going to happen if you make something bad. In fact, if you can let yourself do it consistently, you will see that absolute magic is found in bad art and that it is a mandatory stepping stone to incredible, profound art. And we're constantly trying to skip this learning phase, or we're constantly trying to skip making something that we don't like. And it's robbing us of creative development and it's robbing us of good art. We have to be comfortable with making things that we don't like. And most of us aren't. And so this practice of just write something shit or draw something shit, just make it a part of your daily practice. It's mandatory. And I really think that most of us are trying to skip it.
Yeah. Because I think we just automatically want everything we create to be amazing.
It's so unrealistic.
It is. And it's so hard to sit with the uncomfortable, which is, this is bad, right? I think it's really more about sitting with the emotion of not liking it, and you're judging yourself in the process. We're so judgmental of ourselves.
Yeah, like, what does it feel like to create something bad? And like, what are you saying to yourself? And watch the narratives. Like, how do you translate this incredibly bad picture of, your self-portrait that looks nothing like you? And like, what does that say? What are you saying to yourself as you look at that bad piece of art? And notice those narratives and know what they're doing to you and know how poisonous they are. And experiment with saying something incredibly kind to yourself after you've made something bad, and how does that feel? It's not going to feel genuine for a lot of us, but what does it feel like to say, you know what, you tried really hard and you were so brave and you made something that's complete crap, but that's a part of the process. And I know that we learned something from this here. I think a lot of the times in our creative journey, we need to discover an internal voice that speaks to us like we are 3-4 years old, because that inner artist, I feel, is really connected to that very young part of ourselves. And you would never speak to a young child the way you're speaking to yourself when you've made something bad. We encourage. Also, if you think about like the 4-year-old who's just drawn a picture of themselves and it's complete shit, and they're like, look at this, it's fucking amazing. And it's like, that's the kind of energy we need to be bringing, that young playful energy to our creative journeys.